Hello, friends. Hello, everyone. Welcome to MoAD, and welcome to our third Thursday open mic. My name is Nia McAllister. I am part of our Visitor Experience Department here at MoAD, and I host the monthly open mic. I'm a poet myself, and I'm so excited tonight. We've been participating in Culture for Community today alongside our other museums, so offering free admission and programming in celebration of Women's History Month. And so we here at MoAD have interpreted that in terms of women empowerment, and so I think quite literally taking up space and making space for our voices is so important. So tonight I'm so excited to be featuring two of my lovely poet friends, two brilliant women of color who are powerhouses on the mic. Before we get to them, I'm going to open up with our general open mic. I have a sign up here at the desk. If you feel so inclined, feel free to put your name on the list. I'll introduce people as we go along. Generally, keep it to one or two pieces so we can have a chance for everyone to be heard. So let's kick it off. I'm really excited to introduce our first person on the mic, who's my colleague and friend, Nicole Winthrop. So Nikki, get up here. Hey everyone, thanks for being here. So my poem is called BHM. Basic honey marigold, butter half-dome mountain, being here more, by helping more. Butter height monster, building home Marietta, bondage half-caste misery, first heart memory, brother hold mother, bastard heel mucus. I'm not going to state the obvious. I will never state the obvious. I refuse to state the obvious. Bacteria hangs mold, blindly heaven melts, burn horde bulge, bellicose hens mate, beautiful hammer bay, blues hate music, BB Hank macho, bicycle hat mark, bisexual half measure, breed, husband map. Anything but that, anything at all. Why must I refuse to state the obvious? Bioluminescence heaving momentarily, botanical hack makeup, Bocanista Harlem meet, Bart Hayward Montgomery. Bipolar hedonistic mood swing, border hastening Mexico, break handsome minds, befriend hunger mujer, boast 100 million blast, hysterical, mango, and anyway it's implicit, and anyway I don't need to state the obvious, and so I refuse to state the obvious. Beware hell makes bubbles howl, melancholy, billion fuse Maya, Brooks, Hurston, manic, biblical heresy, mandate, burgeoning, hypocrite, mustard, bookworm pie, mayonnaise, bright, happy moon, big hallelujah, Mary, blue, hungry, mighty. I refuse to come right out and say it. Why? Because I oughta, and on account of this being, and me being, I refuse to state the obvious. Bigot, harmonious, mist, bite hard me, baby hole mess, beneficence has money, beach hair melody, banner heat, macaron, best honey McMuffin, beat, heliocentric model, blunt, hollow musket, bear, hawk, moan. Any number of combinations, any number, some logical, other far from, and yet I still refuse. Bless him, moreover, bride, horse, mumble, bastard, historical museum, Billy Hendricks, Martin, Bessie Heaven, Marshall, bearded hunk, mystic, boots, hipster, monkey, biracial, hupster, myth, bifurcated, homonym, metropolis, buttered hominy, mitochondria. So much more meaning when I abstain from using those three tired little words, which I refuse. Beautiful, harmonious, melody, beatific, hallelujah, mitochondria, bellhop, muse, boredom, homonym, monkey, beach, honorific, muscle, blues, Harriet, migrant, blank, hysterical, midnight. There's just so much more to life, so much more than stating the obvious. Thank you. Woo. Thank you for kicking us off. Thank you. So next up we have Kufikiri Umari.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Kufikiri. an original piece and then a reading of someone else's work. For my piece, I don't title my pieces. Just kind of go into them. I feel it makes it more open for reception when you just kind of go into the piece and you can interpret it how you feel it and how it goes. For there to be life, love had to say yes. A yes as pronounced as the swollen belly of a pregnant mother. And from her womb the universe was birthed. What matter of matter that was scattered in all directions across the vastness of space? The first light of newly opened eyes pierced the unknown. Like a million wishes set upon a billion shooting stars, with the dreams of tomorrow carried to the edges of reality's yesterday, fulfilled in the present moment. Everywhere and nowhere all at once, moving, yet still, the soft, supple face of this new universe still moving and stretching and discovering, barely aware of its self, though conscious. As bodies spiral through space-time, eventually nesting in the embrace of gravity, gathering and settling into clusters of wonderful whirling light and amazement. Opposites attracted to the unknown and unfamiliar, yet finding balance as two become one. And we find the infinite in the singular. For there to be life, love had to say yes. And the piece I like to recite is a favorite of mine by probably one of mine, if not the favorite poet of mine, Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Well, son, I tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time I've been a-climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners, sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps because you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now. I still going, honey. I still climbing. And that for me ain't been no crystal stair.
So I'd like to welcome up Paul, another wonderful co-worker.
Start with a piece from Luca Lesson. May your pen grace the page at the same pace as your brain. May your gray matter from now on no longer be gray. May you mean every word that you say, and from now on, may writing your rhymes be the way that you pray. Get up, step up, never let up, get your set up, get recording, get stories pouring, ignoring your calling and calling you boring is boring, you should be touring. What are you doing? You're basically stewing, no space for daydreaming, no place for that feeling, no place for pacing the building or facing the ceiling, the way that it's stealing your brain, it is stealing. There'll be no change to you, and there'll never be any change to that ceiling. See, I'm basically feeling like art isn't hard. What's hard is your heart, and it starts in the past. If it's past in the past, so love who you are, let your artistry start. May your pen express upon the page every feeling that you're in. May your white page love your black pen. May the ball and your ballpoint roll, because that's the point of the ball, and if we can't make our points, then what's the point of it all? May the lead in your pencil lead you astray. We spell it L-E-A-D because we've made leaders this way. I know that it's hard, but it's easy to say, but I mean what I say. When I say mean what you say. See, potentially, my pencil be the deftest thing you've ever seen. adept at expressing everything you've ever seen, especially when you question me on pencil, man. She gets it. She comes to me and comforts me and takes me out to lunch. You have a cup of coffee, before I know it, she's on top of me, she's rocking it, she's rolling me, we're touching uncontrollably, she likes to flip the rolls on me. See, I start writing with her, but she starts writing with me. It's life as I desire to be, so fitting she's my wife to be. She takes me to her bed of white, we try it in the dead of night, pages till we get it right, we make love between the sheets. May our pens grace our pages at the same pace as our brains. May our gray matter from now on no longer be gray. May we mean every single word we say. And from now on, may writing our rhymes be the way that we pray. Amen. Woo. And this one's an original, called Plateau. I'm awake, but I'm not conscious. Reminds me what it's like to vomit. My face mocks its own reflection, speaking in your dialection. Yeah. Your first breath is my last conquest, takes me out to test my incest. My heart beats my inner children, drown my brain in liquid insulin, find its ghost and then elected, Fukushima death detected. Claim my stake, stay at my hotel, my mistake, you drill my inkwell, broken words bring me to climax, golden scum our finest syntax, nick your nuggets, buy your Legos, Coke and Pop Rocks, 11 egos. Play your station, vape your juice box, cross my blues, then pay for detox. My head speaks in whys and what's-its, reminds me what it's like to vomit, yeah. Frenzy fever, dream a wasteland. Sell me, buy my own land. Bite me, kick my own can, buy my own hand, fuck my own plan, yeah? One day soon I'll sleep up from this wake. Someday I will fake this again, a take. Morning comes with contemplation, your face speaks of inhalation, my best bet is your worst promise, reminds me what it's like to vomit, yeah? You heart my stab, you smoke my breath, you short my wet, you live my death, I heart your stab, I smoke your breath, I short your wet, you live my death. We carry on, hang on each other, hate our guts, cry sister, brother, scrambled eggs, infected ashtrays, say no thing down crooked highways. Your heart cracks my stomach lining, spill my guts to start your crying. Grease stains in my desert bonded, reminds me what it's like to vomit. Yeah? Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. So next we have Lorenz.
Do not remember me when you were sea turtle. I recall you as kelp. Became your hiding place when you felt your majestic shell could not fully protect you. I laughed to the sea. That day, how my softness could be armor for someone as solid as you. I do not remember when you were Chola, but you remember me as Ren. Found it strange, I called you home. Was not blind to the thorns ready to pierce flesh. Told me of the songs I sung. Chuckled with the wind how your danger can be the safest place to nest. We do not remember when we were both humans, but the world recalled us as such. Did not understand why we kept missing one another, even though it made so much sense to find the other. The earth, the fall to the sun, how it would never happen. We were terrible as humans. We came to one another without memories. But recall when we were more to each other, many times even having just met. We showed one another hauntings that composed our ectoplasm beings. Neither one was scared. We giggled at the comfort of being seen. What happens when you no longer trust your memory? When your memory no longer trusts you? What happens when your memory refuses to be vivid, removing out all colors because you keep replaying the memory? What happens when your memory removes all the shapes and lines, refuses to be clear, becomes simply blurry every time you retrieve? What happens when your memory leaves you, asks you to quit following for them? What happens when your memory takes the soft part of your heart, tells you to remain while they go? What happens when your memory claims you unsacred, calls you too broken of a temple? What happens when your memory becomes distance, manifests into a destination you can no longer reach? What happens when your memory begs you to quit remembering, knows you are hurting yet goes? You stay and pray. Even if the prayers feel broken, you pray anyway. You be still and sing. Voice chants, eventually cracks, splits false lines, turns you into a valley, a canyon. You let go trying to find memory. Instead, find a self waiting for you. And you move on. You breathe and offer peace to yourself. You breathe and be peace for yourself. You move forth. You stumble. Get up and move forth. Be kind to yourself. You invite kindness and be present when it is offered. Memory finds reason to return to you. Brings a heart you thought you lost. Continue to move on. Go. Keep going. Love. You always love. Woo!
That was wonderful, thank you. Just to remind folks, we have the sign-up list at the front counter. If you're feeling inspired, feel free to put your name down. But it's my turn now. Say her name. They locked up history today, barred the doors, threw away the key, and called her truth false. 4 walls between her and her children said, hush. These walls not for talking, only home wrecking. It's here we learn grievance cannot be rehearsed. Justice only got catcalled once today. Not bad for a missing woman. If she's invisible in the first place, who's to say she was ever here? Sis got taken too. So now we take to the streets, saying, no justice, no peace. We yell our sisters' names against the chorus of, what she have on? To which we cry, defiance. Oh, so she was asking for it? To which we remind them, nobody's got time to look inviting when there are revolutions growing beneath our tongues. What's that? Couldn't hear over all the white noise? It's here we learn fragility doesn't listen anyways. So as history tells us, we must repeat ourselves. No justice, no peace. Thank you. This next one is one of my favorites. And I do it every time that my mom's in the audience. So I'm gonna shout her. She's over there in the corner. This one's called My Mother's Garden. Like morning, she rises. Full of light, she writes the sunrise each day. Her name is the place between home and homebound. She is my favorite place. Smelling of sweet breezes, fresh earth, ink and spices. She's a glass deliciously full. Your favorite song with just the right rhythm. A new pair of dancing shoes, just enough room to grow into. She carries herself with a special kind of optimism, tending to her garden with the hope that each year new buds would come back, collecting seeds with the promise of new growth. We are of the same garden. She planted her roots in me, teaching me how to blossom. Gardens have seasons, yet she is always in full bloom. In a word, she is perennial, permanent, unceasing in her love. Dance, mama, like the flowers are singing for you. So with that, I want to introduce our next two performers. Two people I'm so excited to be sharing this space with. So Asha Sudra. Asha is an artist, educator, and revolutionary. Originally from LA, she is currently an 8th grade teacher in San Jose. She's an international poet, striving to use art to create radical change. Asha was featured on the cover of Content magazine, and KQED Arts produced a documentary on her intention and process as an artist. She has showcased her work at many of the prominent poetry events in the Bay Area, as well as been an active speaker, MC, and performer at numerous rallies and marches for civil and human rights. She was given the Hank Hutchins Award by the Santa Clara County Alliance for Black Educators for supporting Black youth. Her dream is to establish her own K-12 school, rooted in restorative practices, art, and social justice-based standards. Asha consistently uses her platform to voice out against injustice and to speak up for those who have been marginalized and silenced for centuries. And alongside her, Nazila Jamison. Nazila Jamison is a gifted poet, MC, and vocalist who has learned from and graced the stage with some of the finest people in entertainment today. She's competed on and coached 12 national slam teams and has performed poetry and music across 3 continents. Until she retired in 2014, she hosted and co-produced the Oakland Poetry Slam and Open Mic, an ongoing monthly poetry slam in Oakland, California, as well as performing at venues around the San Francisco Bay Area and the country. She's collaborated on music recording projects with the Rondo Brothers and is embarking upon a career as a stand-up comedian. Her first collection of poetry, Evolutionary Heart, which we have here at the bookstore, was released by Nomadic Press in fall 2016. Nazila is well known and beloved for her work with Spearhead and the French music group Les Nubians, and her love of hip hop translates onto the stage. So with that, I would love to welcome, a warm welcome for our 2 featured poets
What's good, y'all? So yeah, no, you finna go ahead. So look, I gotta explain how excited I am to be just up here right now. This is everything to me, so I'm just as excited as you are. So I just want to say thank you to Nia for putting me on, and thank you to the museum. I'm really excited to be here. And since we homies like that, we're just gonna do some poems together, and y'all can just listen to us together. Is that cool with you? We don't care. We decided that. Yeah. Sorry, cause I'm a teacher, right? And if we were in a class together, I wouldn't sit us next to each other. So we were just the ones talking through most of the things. I apologize. But I like it like that. And we were listening, multitasking. Yeah. But anyways, I'm gonna do some poems and we'll talk a little bit and we'll do some things. All right. So thank you. Baby hairs. Instructed to be trained, taught to lie flat, taught to forget the past. Ancestral stories long forgotten, like Peter Pan refusing to grow up, baby hairs remain in infancy. Terrified of society's abilities to make its visibility reduced to tired long days and excuses for being angry. I used to sit in the mirror, plucking each one that refused to comply, rejecting the expectations I tried to impose upon its genetics. They just didn't get it. The remarks, the microaggressions, the miseducations I received growing up in neighborhoods and ideologies that told me I needed to normalize kink and avoid natural curl that you labeled distorted. Sitting for hours, asking for help because self-hate manifested its means into heating irons, frying strands of hair, begging them to assimilate. Straightening the wave of discrimination, masking my identity to prove a space being worthy of given attention, and given attention I was. Convinced that kinks in my hair compressed the ability for others to see my value. Deciding to chemically coercing every strand of ethnicity and ancestry to become dormant, only to erupt again after several months. As a recidivist, I killed my zombie-like identity time after time as soon as I felt my social confidence slipping. I was tripping, falling for a romanticized fantasy that if I just looked more like them, I would finally feel like I belonged. But I was wrong. Masks only delayed derailed conversations, exposing ignorance and ultimate exclusion, proving to me that India Ari was the gospel. While I am not my hair is me. Every knot entangled, every split end confused at which direction to follow, at every road diverged, I have learned to love it all. Summertime sunshine highlights, conversations with ancestors through coconut oil meditations, flowing long braids reminiscing on the strength passed down diasporic journey held together through exile and Holocaust and honesty and discovery of not going down predetermined paths. I am not my hair, but I am proud to say my hair is me. Hello. Hi. Hello. Okay then. You didn't wake them up. That's just greeting me. Hi. I'll figure this out. Oh, maybe not. Never mind. Yeah, so this is the introductory poem. And Asha has beautiful hair.
Agreed.
And I'm broke. Here's a poem. I run screaming toward the precipice, and thus awaits the landing. I skid shrieking home to an ambiguous safety, fly out of windows, not weightless, but burdened with my own undigested flesh. Mounds of undigested mental meat stagnate in my cerebral colon till I can work that shit out. Because it's sausage day, and I think about sex, and I think about being hungry and unemployed, and I think about how expensive a shrink would be if I had the inability to write poetry. Thus awaits the landing. Tomorrow, I must get myself together. Coming apart is so much harder saying. I, mentally confident, self-control freak, trying to solve my lifetime's riddles verse by verse instead of on the daily. Now relearning how to tell time clocks and do simple mathematics like 40 bullshit hours times insufficient wages equals starving artist who feels like loser except on stage or on paper or on tour or through metaphor. I know the scabs look hard on the outside, but inside my scars is a kaleidoscopic wonderland being internally broadcast all the time to protect my mind from the possibility of being broken. God and I have been in constant contact lately. I soar like Icarus to the sun on wax wings of blind faith. What doesn't kill me will set me free, so they say. As free as I am currently of emotional stability, material security, free-falling, pinwheeling into reality. Is this where it ends or where it begins? Starvation is imminent. Couchsurf is up at the moment, but the tide will soon roll out. Success seems to be on the horizon, but it ascends slowly like the last sunrise. There's no help for me now, anyhow. I remain quite optimistic, though I don't walk past open windows or across bridges these days. Suicide, in result, if not in intent, breaches the contract of my belief. Besides, with my luck, I'd most likely survive.
and with no medical insurance to decline to a much worse general state than I'm already in. Friendship is a painfully underrated reason to live. It is for the love of others that I pen these autobiographical soliloquies, physical opportunities to recall my emotional experiences, lest I ever forget that I am always becoming something else, lest I ever repress my innate ability to put myself back together again, lest those who invest their love in me daily should ever fear not feeling the highest yield. My poems are written contracts of patience. God is apparently not through with me yet. And the most difficulty I have is in bearing with myself as I dive into the blank void, parachuteless, roaring to the bottom of my deep, delicious destiny. Thus awaits the landing. And I pray with all my might, that I bounce.
You know what's cool is that, so I'm a co-host of a podcast, it's called Poets Color Podcast, and the most recent episode that we just released was actually featuring Nia, and ironically, the very first episode of our podcast is featuring Nas, so this is a beautiful little circle that we have going on here. So I just released my very first book ever. It's kind of cool, it's also really weird. But I have some here for sale today. It's $15 to $20 sliding scale, and it would be really cool if you support me, because what she was just saying. Y'all gotta listen. But I'm gonna read a piece.
She takes Venmo.
I do. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Square. I'll take cash. Listen, y'all can't walk away from me saying I don't forget. I'm gonna read the foundational piece from that kind of started the book and kind of started me getting into writing it. And yeah, anybody ever had ants invade their house before, or the spot that you lived in? Yeah, so those head nods that you were giving me were also attached to those wide eyes and raised eyebrows. That means you know what that stress looks like. It put me in a weird space, and this is literally what came out of it. The ants are back. And just like the last month and the month before that and the year before that, after another month-long war, I think I can speak ant. Understand the inner workings and deepest thoughts, and through extensive field work, they've told me they just want to be remembered. Acknowledged and not neglected. They said structurally claim-driven mindsets oppose conditions of being limitless, and kind of like this infestation of the subconscious, these war cries and tyrant-driven erected monuments echo action of removing indigenous relics of time before darkness. This realization triggers consciousness trying to avoid id, and I am the ego-driven colonizer suppressing the reclamation of space and pleas for recognition. These ants speak a language my body knows too well but refuses to acknowledge. I am the dictator trying to erase presence, their trail in paper towel mass graves, and like ants trapped in bait, I sometimes bury traces of disease and eased over formalities and leave the effects lingering long after so as to deter it from returning. But since inception, it's always been here. Exacerbation, knowingly tempting each step to veer off permitted paths, the undying resiliency of ants to reveal their presence, even amidst the most pristine, the most perfect, the most desirable spaces hold truth that even those that are supposed to be without flaw have cracks. Tiny enough to seep in, to show there's no place impenetrable from the mind. The ants have taught me acceptance of this structural manifestation destines me to forever be in denial. It might be cleared out of one space, but it's simply forced to move on to the next. The reservation this system these ants rely on mirrors the systematic depression that plagues the mind. Like systematic oppression plagues society, hiding in crevices too small to notice until too late. Trap houses, comfort of familiarity, poison passed on to each ant in passing, slowly disseminated throughout a colony. This chemical warfare destroying evidence of whatever or whoever occupied this land before. My cells know this language these ants speak. They are familiar with being ignored, being forced out, being repressed. These week-long battles are a reflection of my weak, lifelong battle, traveling through life, trying to suppress the chronic infestation. Survival sometimes means to simply survive. But like resistance of indigenous tribes demanding a voice and insects powerful enough to stage hostile takeovers for being ignored, far past comfort, contort conceptions of self-safety and community, sometimes simple recognition goes a long way. Well, I've heard what they have to say, and I might give up and just let the ants win.
I brought some poems. Let's see. All right. This is called Back in the Day. Back in slavery days, they'd beat us if we ran away. Remember when they used to beat us? Remember when they'd hang a black man for even looking at a white woman? When they'd lynch us, shoot us, kill folks who look like us? But now, times have changed. Now they only shoot us if we're perceived as a threat, if we have a gun or a taillight out, if we try to run or stand still, if we lie on the ground or call them for help. Remember when they used to help scared white folks control us? Remember how polite they've always been to us, quick to rescue us from freedom's oppression, always willing to relieve us of this burdensome life, to generously remind us of our place. Remember our place in the back of buses, squad cars, society's mind. Ah, the days of yore, when white supremacists ran the American government and poor black folks couldn't easily vote. It used to be necessary to put on our good clothes and protest injustice. But now that we live in the future, all lives matter. And brown folks only die on the fake-ass news, and nothing is ever about race anymore anyway. Black is just another interchangeable crayon in the jumbo Crayola box in which we all live. Remember when black was an ugly word and brown was worth dirt? Remember when it was okay to be a xenophobic, racist jerk in public and be applauded? Remember when there used to be this thing called racism? I remember, like it was yesterday.
Woo!
The biggest tattoo I have is a cliche cry to be recognized for my ethnic identity of being South Asian. Only realistically distancing myself from the community and pushing myself closer towards cultural appropriation, Ganesh is easily the most co-opted god of the 330 million in my religion. Aesthetically exploited like white folks wearing saris, not sorry, like Aryan invaders stealing irrigation systems, like British imperialists stealing saris, bringing it back to their community, Columbusing its discovery, erasing its previous history of struggle and rule, like the way we teach African history in K-12 schools. Every time another Om tattoo or yoga mat purchase produces another Deepak Chopra fan, Uncle Tom Sambo of Indians, I squirm. Because I know my mixed ethnicity creates an ambiguity that places me into the same box as folks having henna birthday parties because I just look so cool. All right. Get it. If the Ganesh tattoo doesn't work, there has to be some other way of ethnic declaration. I know it sounds insane, but if I hear you're so exotic, or you're Indian, but you don't look it at all, or you're mixed though, right? Someone's gonna get a high five to the face. The social construct of race is exactly that. Me having to rely on the stupidity of others to assume my subjugation of grouping. The grueling conversations I'm beginning to be unwilling to have continue to force me to tag my body with cultural graffiti. Proud declarations of low caste, imperialist inflicted, bracero-like workers imported from so-called slums and forced to work like a dog while the British became millionaires in East Africa and all over the world. Ethnic belonging has only ever belonged to me when I'm surrounded by my family. That is, Unless they start speaking Gujarati, because then again, I'm somehow ousted as being incomplete, and no amount of community college class can teach me the complexities of a language forced to be built with Urdu, Gujarati, and Swahili. No Rosetta Stone can sense the hostility between the local and imported community. Claiming my identity is a compilation of complexities I'm yet to uncover. Constantly seeking validation from my own mother, my own blood. Approval from an intangible anchor of ancestral expectation modeled in disbelief and doubt to preserve the exiled culture. Labeling my minority is never fittable. Maps, inked out all over my body, and pleased to be accepted. Honor, value, found.
So my friend, good friend, told me I was racist. Because I was telling him a story about police brutality and corruption against a white person. Go figure. But he said that me mentioning race made me a racist, which I found confusing because he's black. But anyway, drugs are universal. I'm sober, and this is about my ex-boyfriend. It's called rehab. The last time I saw you, you had no upper teeth, the area flat between your lips and your veiny lower nostrils. It was only that one day, for no other reason except that you laughed. Your amusement park mouth gaped to reveal an entire missing roller coaster track. Looked like you spit out your ivory parts and sold them as crack to random passers-by, because you always were a shady drug dealer. Unlike the first time I saw you, when your smile sucked me in like wood smoke, burned into my retinas, ignited my dreams, 2 neat rows of ecstasy tabs, addicting my pill-popping heart. Too bad your life was a dirty spoon you spit into and shot yourself up and away. I imagine empty vials and bottles rattle around inside your hollow medicine chest when you throw back your head and laugh. When I asked, what happened to your smile? You told me you were robbed. I think you torched it getting high. You are a sobering carnival attraction. I am in permanent recovery. You are the phantom menace who chases me in my infrequent drunken nightmares, a toothless shadow threatening to devour me, but always 12 steps behind.
I can't be up in the Museum of Diaspora and not talk about the diaspora story that my family carries. So I'ma just go into it. I'ma just say this is for my grandmother. I asked her, in broken Gujarati and English, needing my mother to fill voids of words we both didn't understand. Ba, if you could have done anything with your life, money, family, tradition aside, what would you have wanted to do? Questions, lost in translation, not for lack of words, but for lack of dreams. Confusion, context unknown and inconceivable. The perplexed look on her face sent me into internal tears, tearing at my soul, knowing she was never fully given hers. Identity that would never belong to her because she was always owned. Belonged to families she had never met. Ba came from extreme poverty in Kenya. With the loss of her mother at the age of 2, the remarriage of her father and subsequent step-siblings to follow, she was a pawn. A trading card, not a rare hologram demanding recognition of value and fairness, no. At 15, a dowry that would never be enough, drowning in suffocation, she never had a voice. Told, this family has more than we do.
It will be a better life for you than it would be here. Besides, there's so many other kids we have to care for. Given to in-laws that would doubt her contribution, claiming tainting and devaluing of caste pride, constantly looked down upon, constantly striving for acceptance, forced to learn new ways of a family who had more than she ever did as to denounce her own poverty-stricken shame. So when I asked her, "Ma, what are your life dreams?" she had no answer. No conception of a dream without responsibility, without expectation, without reins. Rain would come and fall, but she never learned what control felt like. So when I asked her, "What are your life dreams?" immediately she wished for her family to be taken care of, to not have to worry if her children could afford rent that month. I tried to construct a fantasy in which all of those responsibilities were no longer hers to bear. That there was no religious constraint on her ability, that she could do anything in the world, that her illiteracy would be non-existent, that anything she could imagine would be possible again. Ba, what are your life dreams? Being asked to answer a question in which even your utopian society structured itself in such a way that you remained the servant she didn't know how to answer. Tried again. After some prompting, some vague suggestions, I asked her, if you could have done anything with your life, money, family, tradition aside, what would you have wanted to do? Her answer, more telling than reality, she said she would want to help others, help children, elders, build a home for those without, provide care for those without. I wanted to cry. I had to hold it in because all she has ever known was living for someone else. I wanted to ask her, who has ever cared for you? There's no point in asking a question you already know the answer to. No one has ever cared for her or asked her what she thinks, what she wants, what she dreams. It was never an option. I had one more question. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? Without thought, as if second nature, as if her dreams were more like nightmares, she easily answered Kenya. Home. Desire to return after exile has haunted her ever since that 1972 evening. Wishing to have never seen the refugee camps, the Air France rescues to escape decapitation and slaughter. She came from a poor, low-caste family, but in Uganda she lived. She didn't dare to dream once they barely evaded Idi Amin because life still belonged to her. And that was enough. Want go home, she says. And I can't stop the crying, and I have to excuse myself and leave. The world hates women, and I don't know why, but this is for us. This is also in my book. It's called Receipt. This is what you get for wearing a short skirt, a low-cut blouse, tight jeans, any jeans, black tights, a cable knit sweater, a hijab, a burqa, your skin. This is what you get for smiling, not smiling, making eye contact, talking back, not speaking, walking too fast, walking slow, walking alone, showing fear, showing no fear, showing up, screaming, not screaming. This is what you get for being pretty, being butch, being fat, being skinny, being young, being confident, being quiet, being awake, being alive, being there, being. This is what you get for being a lover, a fighter, a girl, a woman, female. Do you get it? You will spend your whole life getting it. You will never not not get it until the day they realize you can give as good as you get, so they better get while the getting is good.
It's a love fest. All right, so we're gonna each do one more, and then we're gonna get out of here and let y'all continue the open mic. So I just like you, because we like y'all. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to this. Maybe I don't know what to say that. So I just want to say thank you again, and if you want to see more of my work, you can get me at ashapoet.com. If you're on Instagram, it's at asha_poet. And then buy our books, because we need that, and we need y'all. And support us while we're alive, not when we die, you know? True. Y'all know what I'm talking about with that.
Where's the money now?
Yeah, from me, come on. So just thank you, appreciate you. I think I'm gonna do this one. She walked, knowing they would question intentions, driven into mass distraction and deception. She walked, knowing they are terrified of her coming up on their heels, the feeling of knowing she has always had to run twice as fast, nevertheless she persisted. She walked, knowing her body, her very existence is perceived as a threat, knowing that her indigenous skin has had to justify its claim to be deserving of a home. Colonized, displaced, but still rooted in ancestral soil. She spoke, knowing her place would never be handed to her, never given a seat at the table, so she would have to make it. Take it if she had to, but she wouldn't be silenced anymore. She spoke, knowing others would have to stop speaking for her, claiming stories instead of speaking youth truths, because since the youth, those in power have chosen to fabricate narratives, and she's tired of seeing her community be erased before her eyes. She spoke, knowing so many have been silenced. A moment of silence. She is unapologetic, knowing the hair on her knuckles is ancestral gifted wisdom, not another reason to conform, not sorry for clapbacks because entitlements have allowed fingers to run through foreign hair without permission. Unapologetic, disappointed but not surprised, knowing in 2018 over 50 unarmed people were murdered by the police. That white supremacy is on the rise from shadows behind familiar faces. She is unapologetic because she's tired of having to apologize. They are tired of having to apologize. They are unapologetic, knowing pronouns are trivial until abusive. That a woman is not defined by genitalia. Unapologetic, knowing that binaries are for the past, and in order to preserve the future, dignity and humanity should not be treated as a privileged present. Compassion is not a gift, nor can it be plagiarized. She knew even if she had to do it alone, she would. She would sing when others would say silence. Music of resiliency would find sanity and speak when she had no voice, calling her to decide between justice and love, between any means necessary and complacency, but what the ignorant always fail to recognize is that the most romantic are always the most revolutionary. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate you.
I'm sad. This is the last poem. But you've been lovely. So right now I'm aggressively single. I was passively single for a while. That shit didn't work out, so now I'm aggressively single. And but I have one true love that I've had since I've been in California, and that's Oakland. And this is my love poem to Oakland.
Hold on. As seen on the Warriors, like,
Oh, shut up.
come on now, this is the Warriors. I'm already right now, okay?
love coming to Oakland.
Shut up.
Oakland is your cousin's good-natured kind of ghetto crackhead girlfriend. The one he cheats on all the others with in between violent breakups and smoldering makeups. The one who's your favorite. Making you something to eat because y'all were both up at 3 a.m. because neither of y'all could sleep. Oakland offers you a hit off her pipe. You shake your head. She giggles. Baby, that's just some weed. I'm about to take my ass to bed. You doze off on the love seat. Dreams filled with staccato gunshots and 808s and circle 8s and side street intersections. Oakland doesn't mean to be a hoe. Existence has brought her down. That'll happen after a while around predominantly brown folks. She likes to kick it with big spenders and those who like to build. Her aspirations are Brooklyn size. Her suitors come and go. Your cousin doesn't care because half the time he doesn't know. Her glittering gold grin glinting off her tears like Lake Merritt and sunshine, blinding everyone to her own loneliness and despair, finding love at the liquor store in a pack of top ramen and some cheap beer. Oakland will rip off her wig and snatch out her earrings just so she can have your back. What she lacks in table manners, she makes up for in leonine protection, still searching for her place in this world, still hoping for inexpensive affection. Oakland will pick your daughter up from jail, where your ass sits arrested at 4 a.m. Oakland can't afford your bail, but she'll try her best to secure you a street loan and, well, she might have to sell all your shit while you're gone, but you'll forgive her. She'll soon be coming around the corner in your cousin's beat-up scraper, bringing blunts and smiles and hugs and all the other comforts of home. Thank you so much, y'all.
Well, thank you for introducing me, Nia. I'm going to start my poem. Understand me when I say that we are all suffering, as injustices are being justified and the very court systems established to carry out justice regulate in accordance to socioeconomic status and appearance. Understand me when I say that we are tired of being distorted and dismantled within the hands of the media, tired of trying to be seen as a person, trying to be treated equally without being confined to a particular stereotype, to be heard without our outcries being deemed invalid. Understand me when I say that we are tired of not being enough, to being the pebbles in the pathways continuously walked on, then told to shut up and put up by the very people we entrust our lives with. Understand me when I say that we are tired of young, unarmed black men lives being when the very people we entrust with our lives and safety are the same ones mercilessly robbing young, unarmed black men of their lifespans, as if their lives were meaningless, another one to bite the dust. Understand me when I say that every day a mother lives in crippling fear of her child being shot, with the only probable cause being the melanin of his skin, a color you were conditioned to believe was akin to evil. We are tired of being told that immigrants are the reason for crime when this country was built off their backs. We are tired of blackface being the true face of the politicians that speak of change. We have moved from I have a dream to make America great again, and somehow I'm supposed to believe that racism is nowhere near what it used to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. So next, I have Anesha. Is Anesha still here? Sorry. That's a no. But can I go later? Yeah, that's totally fine. Okay, we'll come back to you. Kamani?
Hello everybody, how y'all doing? My name is Kimon Juno. I'm a poet / filmmaker / storyteller. So I'm actually going to be sharing 2 pieces today. One is a poem and one is a story. You can follow me on Instagram at AU_KJune. And here's my piece called Oh Snap, Oh Gap. Oh snap, oh gap, oh snap. I am in a gap. I don't know how to feel. I patiently wait for the message to be revealed. I find myself fixated so much on distractions. I'm weak in my actions. My emotions are hanging by a thread, ready to be broken off like a serving of bread. This gap is not a place where I want to stay. I must have missed the mark on His grace. I must fix the way I pray. Confused on what to do, wait. Here's a clue. Practice daily, not only when you are asking for safety. Stay hungry for faith. I will reveal my pace. Oh, snap! Oh, yeah! For you have broken my space to pray. Oh, snap. This is the walk of faith, a testimony to understanding, rest, and pace. Thank you. So, and this is the story. The story here is just something that I get from just having conversations with God. So, this is a story about a person who was always planning to be something, but there was always an assumption that this person would become nothing. Nothing in school, nothing in work, nothing in the family, and nothing in life. But this person knew this was the price they mustn't do because they wasn't the chosen few. The few who went to college and received higher knowledge, the few who are stars from spitting lyrical bars, and the few who scored proficiently well, which made endorsement pockets dramatically swell. One day, this person stumbled by a house which welcomed him with open arms without any doubt. The house was fresh, beautiful, and clean. No mouse would set foot in this house, even if it noticed cheese. The person began to understand the meaning of M-E, which prompted him for their destiny. But the whole time the person didn't know this. This house was an escape for their daily BS. So day after day, the person would go in and out, but find it difficult to locate the house on the next day, and the next day. But the house never moved. Instead, the person was becoming blindly confused by all the misguidance he received from striving with society program tools. Over time, the person lost money and developed a fear that shouted in his ear, "Do not dare to take risks. No one will be there to help you out of that ditch." So the person stood in the corner, snapped at anything that came their way like an animal trapped in a cage, and they repeatedly crumbled when things wasn't going their way. Until one day, a letter came in. It brought chills to their outer skin. The subject line of the letter read, "Remain in me, and I in you." The letter was a reminder to the person that they were always the chosen few. Thank you.
Did you want to get on the mic or do you want to part? And then after we'll have the fellow student.
This is my first time ever doing something like this, so so this is a bit about a toxic relationship and seeking to, having to bend and break in order to try to fit with someone. When you had me, you beat out all of my tension, all of my anxiety. I was left unburdened, as if I had transferred it. You were releasing it, and I was allowing it to flow away from me, and gave no resistance, but allowed myself to morph elastically into whatever form you would put me in. You take me on journeys with our bodies like you tour your heart from me. I keep you in my inner sanctum. You guide me to your heart's throne. I've been to the blue room, the slipper room, the pleasure place. Some ventricles have lots of light. I've been to the dark rooms, where raindrops fall from the ceiling with eerie luminescent soft glows around the perimeter. I adjust every time I move to a new room. I find my peace and comfort there. Bend and relax to mold against whatever has been formed before me. An expert shapeshifter is what I become. Contortionist is what I am, filling the smallest spaces, stretching and expanding into the darkness and the light, leaving my scent, my DNA, my mark in all the rooms. Some I decorate, some I clean, some I leave as is, nothing to be changed, only beauty or disaster to be observed. It's not my place to rearrange. I just focus in on that space, like the observation room deck, where I sit and absorb quietly, still breathing, but only barely. Like the mirror room, where I can't see you, but you can see me seeing me, being me. No access to you, except knowing you're watching me, if I need you. I found peace in the mirror room. There's the torture chamber, Dante's Inferno. You must give up all resistance when you go there. Any strain will kill. The king's throne, a high order of sanctity, a reverent sacrament, an offering to the brown gods, to the orgasm emperors, the heart goddesses. Light escapes me when you bend me into your sacrifice, my chest touching the ceiling with every deep and shallow breath. Recreate this worship, right down the steps to this room, the holy room, the worship room, where not everyone can go in.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So last on the mic for tonight, we have Professor Stewart.
Woo. Good evening, everyone. This poem is entitled, Oh, What's Going On?
Mother, mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way
to bring some loving here today. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, you're asking me. What's going on is that in America, 800,000 families are going without. 800,000, and I am no mathematician, but what I do know is that too many of those families resemble people I know. Not just race, but class, experiences. I was affected by this furlough. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts to know that 800,000 times the 12 people they could possibly owe, plus the thousands of dollars owed in debt to this society, plus all the people who went away on vacation and couldn't afford to come back home, plus the people who use their checks to pay for their medicine and can't afford that anymore, and so they become a part of the line, brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. Plus the amount of people experiencing trauma, seeing this as it draws closer and closer to their families. Plus all the contract workers who won't get paid at all. Plus all the fear that people have now of flying yet again because TSA just gave up. I mean, wouldn't you if you weren't getting paid? No, but you don't understand that story because it's not yours, and I'm wondering why. Why can't you understand another person's story? Why are you so afraid to try on someone else's shoes? I've seen it done before my very eyes, German and Jew, embodying each other's stories and seeing the healing that comes from that. Take on someone else's pain just for 1 one day. Take on someone else's words just for one day. Try it on like a brand new coat that can never be taken off, or one you might have to just crawl your way out of to escape the heat. So what's going on? What's going on? What's going on is that people are hurting and America is blind to their pain. What a sad time to be in. What's going on? You tell me. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So this is the last call. Anyone feeling inspired? That's okay. That was a good way to end the evening. So I host the monthly open mic. It's usually every third Thursday. The April open mic will actually be on April 11th. So please, everyone, come back. Keep sharing your stuff. Also, thank you to our lovely audience. It's been so receptive. Again, thank you so much, Asha and Nazela. Just incredible. This is the first time I started running this open mic about a year ago. Started with like 3 of us on one little bench down here in the lobby, and now the fact that it's growing is making me so proud. This is the first time we've had featured poets. It's something I want to continue to keep building the community. So thank you for kicking this off. Thank you for everyone for being here tonight.